What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Hardworking Happy Hour. I'm Sean.
And I'm Catherine, and as always, we'll be breaking down all things trades, entrepreneurship, and turning your creativity into a passion career. Sean, welcome back.
What's happening? How are we doing today?
So good. So excited to be back.
It's so exciting. It's great to see you again.
It's been a whole month. I haven't seen you all month.
I know. I actually have seen you every day since, but our listeners have not. We've been out of the loop for a little bit. Let's, why don't we give them a little recap of why we took a month off and what we got planned here?
Yeah. So, we did 120, I think it was, episodes in a row with very little breaks. And, we decided we need to take a little breather and step back and really analyze what the viewers want to listen to. You know, we can't just keep talking and hoping people listen to it. So, you know, we did a little bit of self-reflection, and we kind of just wanted to see how we could improve and what areas we could improve. So this podcast is the best content that we are able to create.
Absolutely. And after 120 episodes, you know, that's a lot. That's a lot of talking. It's a lot of content. Yeah. It's a lot of everything. So I think it was time for us to kind of step back and say, where do we go from here? What do we do? Do we just kind of keep doing it? You know, our listeners have enjoyed it so far, which we love, which is great. And we're honored to have all of our listeners. But we wanted to make it better. You know, it was like, I think there's an opportunity to make this a lot better, bring a lot more value, and just put a little bit more time and more effort into it. So that's what we're doing. We've set up our studios a little bit nicer and better, which is great. And I'm excited to bring this rebirth of the podcast to everybody and make it better.
Yeah.
Bring more value.
It's very exciting.
It's so exciting.
So how's your week going? What do you got going on? What's new? What's happening?
Oh my God. Well, you know what's new over this little hiatus? We've got the Premier HQ project. It's in full swing now. Yeah. I wouldn't say full swing, but it's in swing. It's
it is
gaining
somewhere
momentum.
within the swing, yeah. Are they pouring concrete as we speak right now?
No, they are not. They're not here right now. They're not here, but concrete guys showed up yesterday to start excavating. They've got the footers dug pretty much. They need to bring a ton of stone in. They're going to do like 6 inches of 3/4 stone underneath of the pad. And we've got a monolithic pour going in, 3 foot deep, 1 foot wide footer all the way around the perimeter, 30 by 40. So as soon as that's poured, which will be next week, we'll be building. We've got walls and trusses getting delivered Monday morning.
So wait, they're pouring next week, or we're starting next week? What are they pouring?
They're pouring next week. So they've set up they have to finish excavating some of the footings. They left the front footing. You know, they didn't excavate that yet, so they can still drive in and out of it, getting the stone in there and everything, and then they'll excavate that, do all the forms. So they've got the inspection scheduled for Tuesday. So it looks like, you know, possibly Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday they're pouring. So by the end of next week, we'll have everything here. Pad will be poured. We'll be building.
Very exciting. I know you're excited about it. So we will keep the people very posted on how that goes.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's a lifelong dream or anything to have a barn building.
What's your
lifelong
whatever dream going to be after this is done? What's next?
I guess live in the barn. I don't know. I haven't gotten that far. One dream at a time here.
Okay,
my God. Let me enjoy my first dream. I know.
Right.
Let me just enjoy this for a little bit, please.
Okay, sorry. So sorry.
All right. Well, so that's what I got going on. You got anything exciting happening?
As exciting as that? No, definitely not. Hardly.
Oh, it's a high bar. It's a very high bar. So
yeah. I cleared out this little corner of my attic to make a podcast studio, so nailed that.
You're just adding square footage like crazy. The home value just went up exponentially.
Like crazy, yeah.
So, all right. Well, what are we going to be talking about this week? What do we got?
All right. Well, I don't know if you've heard. Maybe you've watched TV recently. The Olympics are on.
The Olympics?
Have you heard of those?
I've heard of those. Yes.
Every
So
country
exciting.
sends some people to compete athletically in different events.
Just like regular average Joes, or are we talking high performers?
No. The highest of the highest performers.
Oh,
I have heard,
wow.
though, I saw a meme or something that said, like, each Olympic event should just throw a random person in there. Like, you should be selected by a draft to have to go perform, whatever, as, like, a regular person just to see how superior these people are. I was like, I kind of like that idea. That's pretty funny.
I think that's a phenomenal idea, especially in swimming, because I feel like it's so hard to get, like, a gauge of what it, like, I've never looked at myself swimming in a pool. I know that I'm not fast.
Yeah.
I know that I'm not, like, an excellent swimmer. So it's just hard to get a gauge of, like, I don't know, how long would that take me? Are they 3 times faster than me? Are they 10 times faster than me?
Yeah.
Some of the races I know I wouldn't be able to finish because the pool's so big.
Yeah.
My God. So I would love to see
I would be out of breath.
an average Joe jump in the pool, on a 400-meter freestyle and just see what happens, But
yeah, and like
hey,
the same with running.
next year.
It's like, they like, especially Sha'Carri Richardson, the runner, when she's running, phenomenal. She's killing it for the USA. She just looks like it's so easy. Like the other people look like they're really struggling. They're working. She looks like she's not even trying, and she's just blowing them out of the water. So I do feel like it'd be really fun to have a person like me in there just for reference, just for funsies.
I feel like the 100 meters would be a fun one to run because it's like not long enough to even get tired. You're just like running really fast, but it's not long enough to get tired.
Okay. All right, Jim
They got
Bro.
it pretty easy. Yeah. Well, I do CrossFit.
I'd be tired.
All right. Well,
okay.
So we're going to be talking about how they build like an entire city village just for this event, which is essentially 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's insane. I've just heard, stories of different things. Like in the Beijing games, there was like all of these stadiums that were built just for the Olympics, and then they were just like there, and like unused. And it's like so much infrastructure goes in for this 2-week event, and it's pretty cool. So you've done a ton of research on that. I can't wait to learn more about it. How coordination on those huge projects is just amazing to me. So excited to learn more about it.
Yeah. Okay, so for the Olympics, which I was under the impression also that they build so much for these games and then they just go to waste, because you always see videos of people like going, like touring abandoned facilities, and especially in the past like 30 years, that's been really, like, the cities have just gotten absolutely flagrant with what they're doing. Like the Sochi Olympics, which was a Winter Olympics, not summer, but they spent $60 billion.
What?
And $60 billion, which is just insane. Lot. And they were basically, it's not a, I mean, it's a city, but it's not like a city that had this massive infrastructure to not only like house all of these athletes, but then house all of the competitions for the different sports, which need vastly different facilities. So it has gotten absolutely out of hand. So the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, has really placed this insane effort on reducing waste, basically, and becoming more economically and environmentally friendly with everything that they do. So it's kind of funny because they're on the very beginning stages of that this year for the 2024 Olympics. So they did things like they built this Olympic village, which is where all of the Olympians live. It houses 15,000 Olympians and 9,000 Paralympians in this one. It's like 80 something buildings, but it's like this one Olympic village that cost $1.5 billion just to build this village. But then they're like, you know what? No AC. We're not putting AC in it because we are environmental friendly. Yeah. So I feel like they're in the beginning stages of all this. So I feel like they're kind of figuring it out on like where they can cut costs and stuff. But one of the reasons that Paris was chosen to be the city this year was because they had so much existing infrastructure, and they were basically able to accommodate all of the events, except they had to build the Olympic Village for the athletes, a swimming facility and then a facility for badminton, but that's it for this year. That's all they had to. They retrofitted other things, so there's still massive cost involved. But for the most part, these are facilities that were already there. And this Olympic Village, in order to build new things now, per the IOC, you have to like prove that they can be used in the future. So this Olympic Village was built strategically in kind of like an impoverished area, and now it will be used for like low-income housing and shops and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of cool. I think that the Olympics realized that it's not sustainable for these cities to build these massive infrastructures because nobody wanted to do it anymore. For 2024, the only cities that bid to be part of the Olympics were Paris and Los Angeles, because it's just not like it's not like economically responsible to spend $60 billion just to host these games that don't really have a huge return on investment. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of cool to see, like, obviously we know in building trends, sustainability is like just top of mind. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's working towards it. And now even the Olympics are like, all right. We gotta cut back with the $60 billion Olympics. It's got to be more reasonable, more attainable, especially if we want cities to host in the future. So I thought it was pretty cool. This year they really, the no air conditioning thing seemed a little bit strange, but for the most part, I think it's pretty cool that they're really trying to like use existing infrastructure and kind of make cities kind of like make do with what they have.
Yeah, I think that's obviously a great like just way to reduce waste. I mean, the stories that you kind of see about like the abandoned facilities and all this kind of stuff, like things that were just built for like one tournament for a certain event, and then they're just there forever rotting away. So I think that's obviously a great environmental initiative, and it's just it would be so like disheartening to like build these things and then they just like go to waste after 2 weeks or whatever. I think that would just be so disheartening to see. But I think it's also funny that like you work your whole life to go to the Olympics and then you're in Paris and like you're in like this like impoverished part of town and then like a shanty town with no AC. It's like, because I did see like the beds in there, like somebody blamed their like poor performance on like the beds were like so uncomfortable. Like
they're literally made out of cardboard. That's a whole other thing about the Olympics. These in 2020, it started because of COVID. They're called anti-sex beds. Sorry to be fresh. But in 2020, they wanted everybody to be so separate. They did not want to encourage anyone to be commingling. So they made these like cardboard beds. And then it was like a ban. It was a policy because it was during COVID. So they didn't want. They were like, we have to do whatever we can to like keep these people separate. But apparently, everyone's just once you do your game, you're trying to get jiggy with it afterwards, I guess. So they made it a policy, and they announced for this Olympics that policy has been lifted. However, they still have these like anti-sex cardboard beds that they all have to sleep on, which I think is insane.
What a downer. My God. You'd think they would be encouraging that type of behavior so that like, we could
future Olympians.
Exactly. Like what a better place to create super athletes.
Yeah.
Well, that's super interesting. And I just also want to say we're only like 15 minutes into our first new episode. You've done a great job. I feel like you're really like, it feels like you're reporting from the scene, like really with this, like,
oh, I'm actually in Paris right now. I didn't mention
this is amazing. This is amazing. It's so fascinating. All right. One question that I have for you.
Yes.
How do they, where does the labor force come from? Because obviously local people can't be building all this stuff.
This is another, funny you brought that up. I wrote a lot about this. That is actually such a hot topic because like you said, doing all this construction all of a sudden really is like really hard on the existing workforce. So there is a lot of controversy because it's taken them 5 years to build all of these things and get everything ready. And it will be, I think they said 2 years of construction after the Olympics to get this like Olympic Village ready to actually be habitable. Because right now it's just like set up like dorm rooms and they have to add kitchens and all the amenities or whatever. So they really, really heavily relied on undocumented and migrant workers. And it's obviously it's a hot topic here, hot topic, I assume, everywhere. But the government in France was stating how they aren't going to rely on this. Their existing workforce can handle it. But that's where some controversial things have happened, because within the workforce that has been building these, they obviously have to, like, the reporting on this kind of stuff is like super, super detailed. So they reported 200 injuries during this and 0 deaths, but 4 people have actually died during the construction process of this, but they were all undocumented workers. So they're like, doesn't count.
What?
So yeah, it's pretty, it's, you know, it's a little seedy. It feels it's not great, but they had to, like, these people had to do what they had to do to get this built in such a, like, I mean, they had 5 years, so it's not like a super tight deadline, but they had, you know, it has to be done by the time it has to be done.
Yeah.
So yeah, they made it work with migrant and undocumented workers. And
who's in charge of the project? Like, is it just the French government is GCing this project, or is it something that's like, who's at the top of this that's organizing this?
So there's lots and lots of different organizations. It's basically the French government overseen by the IOC, which is the International Olympic Committee. They have, like, the say of where everything's going, and the French government makes it happen. But then now, because they aren't just building brand new, fresh buildings, they're using existing infrastructure. They're kind of they're working through the organizations that are, like, already in charge of it. Like, so for this year, they really wanted the people to swim in that river, the
Seine River.
Yeah. And it wasn't clean enough. So the people who already oversee that were in charge of cleaning the river up and getting it up to snuff for people to swim in it. So it's mostly them handling it. So that's kind of where it's not like the IOC is hiring undocumented workers. It's the people whoever is in charge of the river. They're kind of sneaking it in that way. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is there any type of oversight or, like, prevailing wages? Like, if you're working on some sort of Olympic project that you have to, be paid a certain wage, or is it just the way they segment it? Is it kind of like a way to, get around it almost, because, they have zero recorded deaths on it, but actually 4 people died, but we're just not going to really count those. So, like, is that kind of how they're getting around it and sort of, like, making it seem better than it is?
Yes. Yeah. It's not, since it's not one head of labor kind of overseeing everybody and all of these people, it's kind of just like they're all basically subs, and it is what it is.
Yeah. It's like whoever's in charge of the overall project, it's like, okay, well, we're going to put this company has won the bid for, retrofitting this building, and, whoever they hire, I don't know, when that's on them. So that's really interesting, because the Olympics is like such I think that the draw of it is, it's such a long-standing tradition of, like, the whole world coming together, and, it's almost like this like, it's this unifying thing every 2 years, winter and summer. Mm-hmm. But then you still have things like, undocumented workers building the facilities and dying.
And that's what kind of made me laugh about it. I was like, aren't all these athletes, like, technically undocumented workers? They're like, they're here providing a service and they're not documented. So it kind of made me laugh. Like,
yeah, I guess. I don't know. I don't really. I don't
like
know what,
like,
documented is. Like, is it just somebody like, oh, what's your name? Or your name's Randy. Okay, we've got you documented. Like, I'm not sure what exactly that means, but it seems like, I don't know. It seems like there should be a bit of, like, a higher standard for the Olympic Games, because building the infrastructure is kind of part of the games. It's what makes there be a place to hold the game. So you would just think that there would be more, more talk about what's actually going on with how they're building it. And it does seem like there's some seedy stuff going on. It seems like from what you're saying, they're trying to make steps to, reduce waste and hopefully, maybe reduce deaths among undocumented workers and things like that. But because in the past, I feel like the big thing with the Olympics was it was a chance for the host country to really like show its power. Like a rising country can show that we're an advanced, up and coming country. Like Beijing was like such a huge. It was like so much pomp and circumstance, like so much show. It was the same thing with the World Cup. Was just in. Is it Qatar? Is that how you say it? Qatar?
Qatar, yeah.
Yeah, it was like there was so much like just extravagance around it to just show, hey, we are a real, first world country that's really pushing, the limits on everything. So it's such an interesting dynamic, but the construction workers are the ones that put it all together and make it happen. So
I know.
Huh. Well, thanks for uncovering that.
Yeah, no problem.
Great journalism work on that.
It was super interesting once I got into it, especially because I like you said, in my viewpoint of it was that they put all of this insane infrastructure, and then now this, like, especially after COVID, it's like the whole mindset has shifted of like, we're not doing that anymore. It's not going to be wasteful. And in what year is it? It's 2024, right? In 2028.
Yes.
The Olympic Games will be in Los Angeles, and part of the reason is because they were the only other city to bid for this year. So they were just like, they just assigned it to them the next go around. They're not even doing a lottery process. But also because it's such a massive city, they have so much infrastructure already that they're like, all right, we can already move forward with that initiative of like not building wasteful things. Yeah. So Los Angeles is abysmal to get around. So I can't even imagine what it'll be like during the Olympic Games, but
sounds like it'll be fun. It does kind of.
Glad I don't live there.
When you see, I just saw like somebody posted like the beds that they had, and that they were like just, it just doesn't look like a bed that an Olympian should sleep in the night before the biggest event of their entire lives. It just reminded me of Fire Festival. That it's just like you get there and you're like this is it. Like I have to eat this cheese sandwich before I run a marathon. Like what the hell is going on? I got to sleep on a cardboard bed. Like, what?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Anyway,
yeah. So
any other fun facts around that? Anything that you found super interesting?
Just have a lot more bullet points. But okay, so Sochi is the most expensive Olympics, which was a Winter Olympics, and that was at $60 billion. And Paris, do you want to guess the total for Paris?
I'm gonna say $23 billion.
$10 billion.
Oh, good job.
Yeah, I know. And 1.8 of that went to just the Olympic Village of where they all live. So
okay, which will be turned into low-income housing, is it? Or is it just going to be like kind of a shanty town where it's just kind of a free-for-all?
TBD, I guess. Depends on how they market it. But
okay,
it's supposed to be like low-income housing or affordable housing. Not low-income housing, affordable housing.
Okay, well, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Good on them.
So, yeah,
it's funny that Sochi was the most expensive because, no offense to the Winter Olympics, but like, I feel like people don't get as excited about the Winter Olympics, right?
I always think that, well, yeah, but I always think that like Winter Olympics, that's like outside stuff. Like you'd think that Summer Olympics, that's a lot of arenas and like.
True.
I mean, I can't think of anything else other than like skiing and snow things. So maybe I'm just wrong, but
figure skating.
I guess you do that inside. Well, they could do that outside.
They could, yeah. But, yeah, I can't even honestly think of that many like winters. Is there like indoor swimming?
In the summer? I mean, in the winter?
Like, I know that like people do like, I know that indoor pools are a thing that exists, but is it like because there's like winter track in high school and you'd run the same events, but it's inside. Do they have that? They don't have that. Not in the winter.
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Anyway.
I'm not 100% on that, but I do not think that they're swimming in the winter.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah. Okay, one last question. Sean, what is your favorite Olympic event? And follow-up, if you had to participate in the Olympics, which sporting event do you think you'd have the best chance in?
Oh, man. Okay, so it's going to be hard to pick. So I'm just going to run down. I'm just going to do a stream of consciousness, kind of walk you through my mindset here. I have been documented saying that I just found out about the horse dancing event, dressage, which I did find quite interesting. But
did you watch any of it?
I did, and I was highly disappointed because all of the things I saw on TikTok about it were, I guess they weren't actually dancing to like Snoop Dogg or Dr. Dre. They just changed out the music, but I thought that's what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And then they're dancing to like just this like weird like freeform classical like it was just, I don't know, it was just like, no offense, the music could be better.
Yeah.
So I was a little disappointed by that, but
okay.
I like watching swimming.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I'm fascinated by that. I think that's really cool. The gymnastics, obviously, it's insane. It's just like, I think that's got to be the hardest. That's got to be the hardest sport. I mean, it's the things that they do are just absolutely insane. The one guy, he was on the uneven bars and he was swinging around it with one arm. It's like, what? How's that possible?
Yeah, that is wildly impressive.
And the whole time the commentators are just like, well, you saw his left arm twitch there a little bit, so that's going to be 0.3 of a deduction. It's like, come on. It's unbelievable.
Did you see how hard that man is working?
Yeah. But then I love track. I've ran track in high school. I like running. I just find that so interesting. The Olympic marathon is probably, that's probably my favorite event. I'll say the marathon.
Okay.
What about you?
What are you participating in?
Oh, I got to participate in this. Definitely not the marathon or swimming. Dressage, I feel like, I'm not that good at riding a horse, so probably not that. I will go with 3-on-3 basketball.
Oh, good choice.
Which I did not know that was a thing.
Me neither. Not until this year.
Yeah.
How fun. Okay.
Yeah.
Love that.
What about you?
My favorite events to watch are the ones that go by really quickly, like a gymnastics routine, which floor gymnastics, I could watch that all day. I freaking love floor gymnastics. I can't do like soccer. That takes too long. I tried to watch it yesterday and I learned that Dennis Rodman's daughter is competing on the women's Olympic soccer team. So then I just spent the entire time like Googling about her. So I don't have the attention span for that. So I'm going gymnastics is my favorite, or any of the sailing events, or I still do like the horse dancing. But I agree, the music should be better. And if I'm competing in anything, it's definitely any of the horse. I am so confident that I could compete at an Olympic level in any of these horse events. I want to go on record saying that.
The confidence is a huge part of it.
Oh God, I think so. And I am up there. I am so confident. They don't even do anything. They're just sitting there. And the horse dancing.
Much. The horse is doing all the work for sure.
Yeah, the horse is doing all the work. And you see these highlight reels of these horse dancing and you're like, oh my God, it's like crip walking. That's amazing. It's not doing that the whole time. Most of the time it's just walking around the arena. So
yeah, I was highly disappointed in I was just seeing the highlights, I guess.
Yeah.
And like most of it's just like lightly prancing around at a slow pace. Yeah. I didn't really understand it too much, but side topic, not totally related, but you said Dennis Rodman. I just heard this on the radio on the way home today. Apparently he used to date Carmen Electra. Did you know that? Mm-hmm. She barged in on him and he was in bed with 2 other women and he said that they fell out of the ceiling.
Classic. Yeah. I hate when that happens.
I just thought that was pretty great. I mean, I'm sure she didn't believe it, but, you know, he was kind of known to be a little crazy. So,
yeah.
Great excuse to come up with right off the rip there.
Yeah.
I don't know where they came from. They just fell out of the ceiling. You can't get mad at somebody when they say something like that. You're like, oh, Dennis. Silly.
Dennis. Yeah.
All right.
Pretty cool he made an Olympian, though.
Yeah. Oh,
Out of all
I'm
of
not
his
surprised.
debauchery.
I mean, he's like a physical freak. He's a specimen. He's crazy. You know, he's like freaking so athletic. So I'm not super surprised by that. But that's fascinating. I'm gonna also Google that and look into what she's all about.
She's great.
I'm sure she is.
I watched her score a goal yesterday.
Oh, good for her.
I know. I'm so proud of her.
What's her name? Dennis Jr.?
I think so, yeah. I think it's like Trinity Rodman.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
All right, so do you have anything else you want to talk about for the Olympics?
Good luck to everybody.
Go
Team
USA.
And you're listening to this, go Team USA and also go everybody else.
I hope everybody has a good time.
I hope everybody has a good time, and I hope nobody gets, beat or anything if they do bad. You hear those stories about certain countries,
Yeah.
I hope
Why
that
can't
doesn't
everyone
happen.
just be cool,
Yeah.
There's always got to be
They
somebody
tried their
alone in
best.
it.
Yeah. All right. Well,
All
that was fun. I
right.
really enjoyed that. What do we got next?
Yeah.
What do we
Next
got
up.
next after the Olympics? It's a high bar.
It's a high bar. It is a high bar. Next up, we have our construction news segment.
That was a great sound effect you just did
Thank
there.
you.
That was really amazing. Construction
was-
news. This is
I was-
exciting.
trying to
Finally,
play-
a news station for us, blue collar people.
us.
What do we got coming
Just
across
for
the
us.
ticker on the breaking news
Okay,
sector?
this is hot off the press. Construction news. OSHA is making a new rule about heat safety. They're working on it. It's not passed yet,
Okay.
but they're working on it. And I thought it was pretty funny because when I was on the interwebs, oh my gosh, I'm reading this and I'm like, this all seems incredibly reasonable. No problems here. The internet, a buzz. This is controversial stuff. It's going to ruin the industry apparently. So I'm interested to hear your opinion on this new rule. Okay, so the EPA reports that there's an average of 34 heat-related deaths every year on construction sites, which that's
the
just
EPA,
death.
the Environmental Protection Agency.
Yeah, I'm not.
What are they
I'm
getting
not
involved
entirely-
with this
I'm,
for?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that.
Stay in your lane, bro. We don't need you here. All right, go ahead.
True. But that's just deaths. There are an incredible amount of people who are hospitalized. I couldn't find an exact number, but the numbers that I was seeing were all over the place. Also, everything's behind a paywall these days. Like anytime I try to go into a news article, always with the paywalls. It's very hard to research, but
It really is.
anywho, that's neither here nor there. A lot of people are hospitalized every year for it, and I can see why. We work outside, and it is some days just totally abysmal
hot.
out there.
Yeah.
So what what OSHA, sorry, not EPA, OSHA is trying to do is they are saying that there's an initial heat warning at 80 degrees. And the 80 degrees is the wet bulb temperature. So that takes into account the ambient air temperature in the sun, the humidity, the radiant heat, and air movement. So that's 80 degrees.
Who the hell's keeping track of this?
You're the boss.
I ain't keeping track of that. No offense. Or sorry or whatever. But go ahead. I don't even know what half of those words meant. All right, go ahead.
Do you want me to go through them again?
No.
Okay. At 80 degrees, you have to have access to cooled water, not just water that's also outside baking with you. Employees need access to cool water at 1 quart per employee per hour. Break areas must be in the shade or have AC, which needs to be encouraged or enforced. You need to, I'm not going to say this word right, acclimatize. I said it right. Acclimatize. You need to have acclimatization plans in place for new employees. So whether that be
Like acclimating them?
yeah.
Okay.
You need to maintain communication two-way. So if you have like employees up on a roof, you need to have walkie-talkies on them so they can tell you, hey, I'm about to pass out or whatever. You need to enforce cooling PPE. And if you are in indoor workplace,
PP's usually hot though.
Gross. If you work indoor, you must have some form of moving air. So that's at 80 degrees. You have to have all those things. That seems reasonable to me. I can see where
I think
if
so.
it comes into play where like somebody's coming on your job site and like ragging on you, then it might be annoying. But like to me, that all seems incredibly reasonable.
I think so. 1 quart per employee per hour. That's it. That's everyone on the site is drinking 2 gallons of water in an 8-hour period.
Well, they don't have to drink it. They just have to have access to it.
Oh, you don't have to force them to drink it.
You don't have to force feed them.
Oh, okay. But it has to be available. Okay, I think that's. I do think that's reasonable. Yeah.
And then once it gets to 90 degrees, then it moves to a high heat alert. So that means you need to provide alerts pre-shift about where like break areas are, notifying everyone of the conditions, and just like kind of giving everyone a State of the Union, notifying people of the high heat warning.
Guys, it's hot out today. Watch out.
They need to have 15-minute paid breaks every 2 hours, and you have to have a mandatory buddy system or observation by supervisor or heat safety officer. So, again, a little bit more, and I could see how like 15-minute breaks every 2 hours could end up getting costly with, we kind of are willy-nilly with our breaks. Nobody's monitoring our breaks, but, these bigger companies, I can see how that would get to be a pain, like having to monitor that or making sure that people aren't taking advantage or making sure that people are actually doing it. I can see how that could kind of get annoying, but so my mom works at a nursery, like a plant place, and they just hired a new employee, and on her like second day, it was over 90 degrees and she passed out. And luckily somebody was standing right next to her, but if she hadn't been like training, no one would have been near her and no one would have found out that she passed out for like probably 4 hours or so. So I can definitely see why these, like, it's important. And it's not, I think it's kind of, you get the tough guys who are like, it's hot, but whatever, who cares? But it's, I think that this is something that should be encouraged and enforced. And also it just makes your workplace more, enjoyable anyway. Like, we're hot, everybody's hot, sucks. Like, give them a break, give them some cold water, make it a little less miserable. Is there thoughts as a boss? Is there a guideline
on what the temperature of the water needs to be?
It just says cooled, so I guess cooler than the air temperature. Slightly.
Well, we got 75-degree water here. It's cooled. No, I think it's reasonable. Look, I think sometimes these things have to be put in place for larger companies to avoid, the labor force getting taken advantage of. On a job site like ours, I don't want to say it seems excessive, because like if anyone's hot and they're like, oh, I'm like, all right, take a break. It's fine. Like, whenever you want, take a break. Or, hey, it's too hot. Like, all right, well, let's call it a day, whatever. But, when there's not that, when the boss isn't right there, it's just like a supervisor that's getting his orders from somewhere else. Like, then I think it becomes more important to have these guidelines in place to make sure that it's being followed, because on a larger site, on larger projects, when there's more employees, it's a lot easier to kind of take advantage of the workforce and not give them these things that they need. So I think in that aspect, I do think it's very reasonable. But like some places, 80 degrees, like it's 80 degrees all year in some places. So, but again, that's not too crazy of an ask to just have cold water sitting around. I think that's reasonable enough. Because I can imagine that a lot of people do, they're, 34 deaths a year. Mm-hmm. So I could definitely see that happening. One thing that I have seen, this is sort of related, but there was a thing. Have you ever seen the show Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel? Mm-hmm. Well, it's pretty cool. I think you'll like it. But anyway, they did a story on a lot of college football programs. The amount of deaths from heat stroke is like insane. There's like dozens of people that die every year in college football programs. Dozens might be a stretch, but like maybe like a dozen people every year die because they're in, wherever, Alabama, or, they're in like really hot areas and they're doing like insanely exhaustive workouts, 2-a-days. A lot of these people are huge people, like, and it's amazing how many people die every year. And the thing that they say is it's so preventable because when someone is going into heat stroke, literally all you need to do is get their core body temperature down really quickly. So throw them in an ice bath. They will have zero ill effects like whatsoever. Whereas if you don't get their core body temperature down quick enough, it basically fries their brain and they die or they're brain dead. It's like amazingly how simple it is.
Is that really what you're supposed to do? Just like throw them in an ice bath? That works?
Yeah. And it works like 100% of the time. I don't want to say 100% of the time, but it's basically just like the whole thing is college coaches need to be trained. Like someone needs to know, like if someone goes into heat stroke, what are you supposed to do? You know, you lay them down on the hot field and like pour water on their head. Like there needs to be something there. And if you just throw them in an ice bath, it immediately gets their core body temperature down and it stops like your basically brain from like melting almost. So it's pretty crazy. And I can imagine on a construction site, same thing. It's 100 degrees out, 110, you're wearing PPE, all this stuff. You know, I can imagine it could happen very quickly where you go into heat stroke and, you know, what are the chances that somebody on a job site knows what to do when you go into heat stroke? You know, common sense is kind of like, okay, just sit down for a while, but that can do nothing for them. You know, once they're already past that threshold, just sitting down and also in the heat or in the shade isn't really going to do anything. It's not going to bring their core temperature down. So, you know, having like training around that, I think, what are you supposed to do if somebody gets to that point? Obviously, preventing them from getting to that point is the goal, but, you know, probably some education around what if somebody gets to that point, what are you supposed to do at that point? Yeah. So look, there's always going to be a million people that say like, oh, OSHA this, OSHA that. And, you know, some of it might seem excessive, but in the end, these things kind of come about because people die.
Exactly. There's a reason for all of these things.
Yeah. It's not just
as annoying as it might be.
Yeah. So, yeah, as annoying as it is, I you know, there's people dying out there. And it's been really hot here lately, but imagine how hot it is in Phoenix right now. Yeah. You know, it's like 120 degrees every day, baking in the sun. So as bad as it seems for us, and it has been really bad some days because it's so humid and everything, but it's a lot worse in a lot of other parts, you know, of the country. So I do think that it's reasonable. Yeah.
That's where that wet bulb temperature comes in.
I don't know what that is. I guess, is that like a real feel?
I just learned it. Yeah, no. Okay. Well, I mean, maybe, I guess. I don't know.
Takes into account humidity and all that kind of stuff. And
yes. The ambient air, the humidity, the radiant heat, and the air movement. So
that's kind of like, you know, when they say it's 95, but it feels like the real feel is 160.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
And like if you're on a roof, the radiant heat of a roof would be 130.
I could see that. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, very interesting stuff. Thank you for that very informative construction news.
Yeah. This is also, you know, not to get political again, but this is also another thing. Seems like common sense. This is not passed yet. They're trying to pass it, but the Supreme Court just struck down Chevron deference, which gives these organizations I don't want to say the benefit of the doubt. I guess that's kind of it, but they rely on those people as experts to make these decisions, and that's gone now. So this might actually not pass because of that. So TBD on that. It's looking like
you will keep us updated.
It might not. Yeah, I'll keep you updated. Or however you find out about OSHA rules, we'll keep you updated. But
it's the only place I know of to find out about construction news. Do we got a music bed to lead us out of that segment?
I'll add something.
Oh, great. Okay, that was whoa. All right. Well, thank you for that breaking news report. Great job, and we're gonna move into. I don't know if we're moving into this yet, so I don't want to say it. Where are we headed from here? Okay. You know what time it is. Actually, you don't because it just started. It's time for construction trivia. We're going to have an ongoing battle between myself and Catherine, who is the all-time champion of construction knowledge and trivia. So I've always been a big fan of trivia. Love competitions as well.
Yes.
And I know I'm going to win. So here are the guidelines. Every week we're going to do construction trivia. And I think it's just a fun thing for us to do. And, you'll learn some random facts about construction that you might not have known. So here's the format. We are going to do each ask each other 3 questions. And first one, true or false. Second one, multiple choice. Third one, open-ended. So that is the framework for our construction trivia here. And who goes first? Who asks the first question? And what are we going to do? We're going to go back and forth, or should we do all 3? And then
let's go. We'll go back and forth.
Okay.
And I think this is funny because I picked my questions to ask Sean, and Sean picked his questions to ask me. So I'm excited to see how hard you went on these questions, because I didn't go crazy. We're just. I didn't either. I was trying to. Yeah. Okay. All right. Sean, true or false?
Yes.
The average age of the U.S. construction worker is 36 years old. True or false?
False.
What do you think it is?
I think it's probably more like 56.
You are correct in that it is false. You are incorrect in the age. It's 42. But
Okay.
I'll give you your point because you did.
All right. Off to a good start here. Okay, now I'll go into your true and false.
Yeah.
Okay. True or false? Hitachi Ltd. holds the most construction patents.
Ooh. Hitachi Ltd. holds the most construction.
Can we do it? Are we going to do a music bed under this whole segment? So exciting.
I can do that. I didn't, but I can. Oh God, this is so. They're so innovative. I feel like it's probably. I feel like it's a trick question because I feel like it's probably them, but maybe under a different name or something. I'm gonna go true. I feel like they do have a lot.
You're good.
Oh, I am good. I got it right.
At giving the wrong answer, it's false.
Oh,
Caterpillar Inc. has the most construction-related patents with 3,191.
That was a trick question.
It wasn't a trick question. You should have just picked false. What are the chances that just one company?
I know. I felt like you were gonna. Yeah, I feel like you're.
It was a good question.
All right.
It was a good question. All right.
Okay, multiple choice.
Mm-hmm.
Who came out with the first cordless impact drill?
Ooh.
A. DeWalt. B. Black & Decker. C. Hitachi. Or D. Porter Cable.
Cordless. This is specifically not just a drill, but an impact?
No. Specifically cordless impact drill. Do you want to hear those options again?
Yeah, run them down.
A. DeWalt. B. Black & Decker. C. Hitachi. D. Porter Cable.
DeWalt.
Wrong.
What?
Hitachi.
Oh, wow. Hitachi's coming up pretty strong here in this initial segment. Okay.
I like
All
this
right.
because I have a Metabo impact. That's why. Anyway. All right. What's yours?
All right. Okay. Second question, multiple choice. Which ancient civilization is credited with inventing the first form of concrete? A. Egyptians. B. Greeks. C. Romans. D. Persians.
I feel like it's B or C. Greeks or Romans? I'm going Romans. C. Romans.
Bingo, you got that right. Congratulations. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Concrete Kathy at it again.
Oh, yeah, there you go. You had to get that one right.
Right.
What's really interesting, and we talked about this a little bit before, the Romans actually used volcanic ash as a portion of that initial concrete mix and the volcanic ash kind of had a calcifying effect, just like the Premier Stone, that calcifies the carbon dioxide and the calcium carbonate, which actually, through that chemical reaction with the air, it actually strengthens the concrete over time. That's why some Roman structures have lasted so long, because as they age, it actually increases the strength of the concrete. So it's pretty fascinating. But yes, Romans are credited with inventing the first form of concrete. So good job.
Amazing.
1-1. Tiebreaker. What are we going to do if we tie?
Oh, geez. Maybe we should. Well, I don't know.
Let's see if we even get to that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. What kind of paint can help in fire protection? And I'm going to let you know the answer is not fire retardant paint. There's a word for it. Do you know it?
How about this? I'll ask myself a different question. What's blue and smells like red paint? Blue paint.
Blue paint.
Okay, what type of paint can help? What is it?
In fire protection. This type of paint, when it's exposed to heat, it expands, which creates a char layer between, the fire and the wood. And there's a word for it.
A word for the type of paint?
Yes. This was kind of hard. Sorry. I figured this was either like just a word that I hadn't heard, or it was a hard question. So.
Okay, so it's a word that you've never really heard.
I like I had heard the word, but it's not. But it's not something I knew.
Man, this is hard. Okay, well, I'm gonna guess it's not oil or latex.
No.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with. Acetone?
Acetone would be incredibly flammable.
I don't know. I forget that there's only like one other type of paint I know, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's like is it something with like an A?
It's an I.
All right, I don't know. I get this one wrong. What is it?
Intumescent.
All right. That was ridiculous. That was so hard. All right. Well, whatever.
All right. Sorry. I thought maybe you'd know it. Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to go into your winning question here. I figured a layup for the open-ended question on our first week, but whatever.
All right. Sorry.
In construction, what does R value measure?
Insulation. The insulation metric.
The insulation metric? What is that? What is it measuring?
Radiant
All right, whatever.
Heat?
We'll just give you the win there. I'll give it to you. It's the thermal resistance of insulating material.
There you go. Well, I didn't say
Congratulations. Is it Women in Construction Week? Is it?
It is now. Thank you.
All right. Good job.
Okay, all right. So now we're 1-0.
Yeah.
Right? That's how we're going to do this. We're not.
Yep.
It's not per question. It's per game.
Yeah, it's just per game.
Okay.
And for future games, what we need to do is we need to have like a reserve bank of questions where if we tie, we go into a bonus round until sudden death.
A sudden death. Okay. All
yes. All right. Well, congratulations. Good job there.
Thanks.
All right. Well, that was construction trivia for you. I guess let's just.
I wrote it down so I can keep track of it.
Great. Yeah, I'm sure you won't let me forget that you won the first one. Well, I guess just some closing notes on kind of what our goal is to bring to our audience here, and really, it's we kind of evaluated what else is out there. What unique thing are we bringing? Like, why are we doing this, and what unique thing do we bring? Why would anyone want to listen to us every week? And I think what we want to do is provide a place where people can just feel like they're not all by themselves in the trades, so you're going to learn a lot. We're going to do research things about interesting things, but a lot of the podcasts out there are so in the weeds with really, technical stuff. And it's almost like a school lesson every episode. We want you to learn, but also like just turn it on and feel like you're not alone in the industry and you're with people talking shop, and you can learn some cool, interesting facts about construction. So I think that's what's really cool about the trivia portion of this, and just have fun with us, and we're all going to learn together. So another thing we want to do is have some really qualified guests on to talk about very specific topics and get their expertise on it. So it's going to be kind of a new format for having guests on that I haven't heard in a lot of other podcasts, but I think it's going to be really interesting. I think it's going to bring a ton of value, and we're really excited about it. So lots of really great content coming at you, audio and video, and we're just super excited. So thanks for taking the journey with us so far, and to the moon we go.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Also, Sean, what do you think about bringing some drinks back into this?
I'm always down to get drunk. Let's go.
All right. Okay, so next week we'll be back with some drinks as well.
All right. Well.
All right. This was fun, Sean.
Yeah, it was. I'll see you next week.
Okay.
I'll see you tomorrow, but okay. Till next time, this has been the Hardworking Happy Hour.
See you next week.